Hello, everyone. My name is Robert Winfree, and what you're about to listen to is an old show that I used to host called Everyone Loves a Bad Guy. This particular episode originally aired on March 28th, 2014, and it is part 2 of a look at the villains of Spider-Man. This was part of my long look at various comic book villains. Long look. A lot of material to cover. And features a discussion exclusively about the subset of Spider-Man villains and a spin-off in their own right in some respects, the Symbiotes. Characters like Venom, Carnage, Anti-Venom, Rage, Wrath, Envy, pretty much all of the deadly sins. Somewhat notably absent would be the character of Null, because if you paid attention, I said this aired in 2014, and the superpowered cosmic entity Null responsible for the creation of the symbiotes did not appear until 2018. I'm joined for this particular episode by Mark Radulich and Jason Teasley, and we have a good time talking about symbiotes, I suppose. This episode is being re-released in conjunction with the release of Venom 2, Let There Be Carnage. Yeah, I'm not enthused, but I hope you are. I mean that sincerely. Before we get into the episode in particular, let's get a couple of bills paid. There are a few sponsors for this particular episode. First up, Amazon Music. There's a lot of quality music out there. Some of it's occasionally been featured in symbiote-related properties. I'm sure you all have things you want to talk about there. But Amazon Music is a wonderful streaming service for music. It has over 70 million unique songs. So many artists, so many albums. You can get lost in there for years. And we here are offering you a free 30 days. If you go to the link provided in the description, getamazonmusic.com/W2Mnetwork, that will provide you with a free 30 days of Amazon Music. After that, if you like it, you can keep it. If not, well, you are under no obligation. It's nothing but a free 30 days of one of the best streaming services for music that exists on the internet right now. And I say that as a consumer and a user of it, not as someone who is paid to say that. Our second sponsor for this particular episode is Grammarly. For you listeners of the W2M network, Grammarly is offering a free download of the Grammarly software. Grammarly's AI-powered products help people communicate more effectively. Grammarly helps you write mistake-free on Gmail, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and nearly anywhere else you write on the web. Grammarly corrects hundreds of grammar, punctuation, and spelling mistakes while also catching contextual errors, improving your vocabulary, and suggesting style improvements. To download Grammarly today, go to getgrammarly.com/W2Mnetwork. Again, that's getgrammarly.com/W2Mnetwork to download Grammarly for free. The style improvements and the contextual errors. Biggest helps for if you're loosely literate or proficient with the English language, you really do want the style improvements and the contextual errors. Those are the things that get kind of wrapped up and lost a little bit along the way. So feel free to click the link down there, get Grammarly, start communicating more effectively anywhere you write on the internet. And with that out of the way, let's go ahead and throw it back to 2014 and the conjunction of myself, Jason Teasley, and Mark Radulich to talk all things slimy and symbiotic. Past me, take it away.
When the devil is too busy and debt a bit too much, they call on me by name, you see, for my special touch. To the gentlemen, I'm misfortune. To the ladies, I'm surprise. But call me by any name, anyway, it's all the same. I'm the fly in your suit, I'm the pebble in your shoe, I'm the bee beneath your bed, I'm the bump on every head, I'm the heel on which you slip, I'm the pin in every head, I'm the thorn in your side, makes you wriggle and gypsies have to me. I do it all because I'm evil, and I do it all for free. Your tears are all the pay I'll ever need.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us here on Everyone Loves a Bad Guy. Be it live, download, first time of many, long-time fan. However you got here, however long you've been here, thank you to anyone and everything in between. I wouldn't have a show without you because, hey, the fact that people actually listen to this is what makes it interesting, what makes me put effort into this. The more of you listen, the better I try to be. So thank you for that. Thank you for making me better, and I hope you all have been enjoying the show so far, and I hope you're going to continue to enjoy it. I'm your host here on Everyone Loves a Bad Guy, the authority on evil, Mr. Robert Winfree. Now, I'm still in the midst of comic books, comic book villains. They're everywhere, folks, and we are still trudging through. Tonight, we are trudging back. A little bit of backtracking here. You see, a couple of weeks ago, I had Robert Cooper, Benjamin J. Colon, and Jason Teasley on, and we spent 2 hours talking about Spider-Man villains. There was a subset that was omitted from that particular bit of discussion, by and large. That was the Symbiotes. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, we're going to get into that in the near future. But we kind of left them off the table because we wanted to come back and talk about them again. Talk about those guys. They get their own show, folks. Yay! I need a sound bite that's a little party music, which I don't have right now. But hey, imagine it. Party sound in your head. Yay! All right. Now, I'm not here alone. I've got a couple of guests with me. First, he's been here several times. He is the benefactor, the patriarch of the Radulich and Broadcasting Network. The mandated reporter himself, Mr. Mark Radulich, is back with us. How you doing, Mark?
Hey, Robert. Thanks for having me back on again. Always enjoy doing your show.
I always like having you on.
Really, you're the only one.
Oh, come on, the casual.
No. It's people who do podcasts with me, by and large, enjoy doing them with me because I can hold up my end of a conversation, generally speaking. However, your listeners, and I know this because I see the numbers, when I come on, there's the collective sound of people turning off the fucking podcast. That's what happens. They hear Pat, they call a friend. They hear me, they're like, what's on Bellator tonight?
Oh, Bellator. No one cares about Bellator.
Sure.
All right, and back again to extol the virtues of everyone's favorite black and red symbiote, Jason Teasley from the Cheap Seats is here with us. How you doing, Jason?
All right, stop what you're doing, because I'm about to ruin the image and the style that you used to. I look funny, but yo, I'm making money, see, so whole world, hope you're ready for me. I can gather around. I'm a new fool in town, and my sound's laid down by the underground. What's up, man?
Oh, not too much. Nice little rhyme there.
You know what that is?
I done it just for you, Mark.
I know what it is.
I say nobody is excited and can be on your level when you do introductions. So I'm pumped to be on the show with you.
I'm glad you're
good.
here.
I'm glad. We haven't done too many shows together. This might be the first one, so that's also fine and dandy. But I need to settle Mr. White Bread over here, Mr. Utah, Mr. Traveling Man, the Sam the Eagle himself. Do you not know what he just did?
Nope, no clue.
It's a Humpty dance. Huh. It's your chance to do the hump.
Hey, yo, fat girl, come here. Are you ticklish? Yeah, I called you fat.
Yeah, I called you fat. Look at me.
All right. Let's get away
stop
from
me
that.
from getting busy. I'm a freak. Oh,
wait a minute.
I once got busy in a Burger King bathroom.
Before this goes any further, I'm the one that said just grab them in the biscuits. Now let's get going.
Yeah. No, I had no idea what that was. And we're
Do
going to be...
yourself a favor and download it.
The amount of people who tell me that. I've been told that many times. I've regretted it, but maybe I just have bad friends. I don't know. We'll see. Okay, before we get really rolling here, we have a guest caller. I think I know who this is, but I don't want to presume too much. But area code 732, we're talking Spider-Man Symbiotes. You're here very early in the show. If you got something you want to get off your chest, now's the time to do it.
Do you want to build a snowman?
No.
It
You're
doesn't
a little
have to
off-key,
be
sir.
a snowman.
Go away, Pat.
Sorry, guys. Just had to drop in. Before you get really rolling, I have to say, first of all, that I'm thrilled to hear that Teasley, Radulich, and Winfree combination. This is a first. Second of all, do you understand that the best media interpretation of Venom outside of the comic books is the movie The Cable Guy?
Oh, okay. I'm going to use that one at some point in the future when I actually get around to watching.
In all seriousness, it's a symbiotic relationship between this needy, attached person played by Jim Carrey who becomes a symbiote to this seemingly mild-mannered guy and then entrances himself into every aspect of his life. He stalks his girlfriend like Venom did to Mary Jane. He embeds himself into his family life like Venom did to Aunt May. It's really exactly taken from the comics and made into a movie about a cable guy instead of an alien symbiote that developed an affectionate love towards Spider-Man and didn't want to be away from him. But if you ever watch the movie and then you read the comic, maybe a light bulb just went off for you, but it's the best interpretation of Venom by far.
Pat, how well did you do in high school English? Did you just knock it out of the park all 4 years?
Absolutely. I was actually a National Honor Society member as well.
It absolutely shows, my friend. It absolutely shows. The level of reaching in your analysis there was Mr. Fantastic level. Mwah.
Let me also say this. I think we can all agree Jim Carrey would have been better than Topher Grace.
Oh, God, yes.
I think Joe Piscopo would have been better than Topher Grace.
Dude,
listen, folks.
My left.
I did an entire podcast defending the merits of Spider-Man 3. Are we ready for this? Do we want to start right there? You want to start? Is this Star Wars? Do we want to start in the middle and work our way backwards? What's going on?
Let me say, hold on, Mark. I heard that podcast. I enjoyed that podcast. You did not defend Topher Grace as Venom. I'm not stepping on your toes.
All right, fair enough.
I could have played a better Venom.
Yeah, it's all right. Anything else you wanted to say, Pat, apart from that startling insight?
No, startling insight's pretty much what I do here. I'll be listening for the rest of the show, though, fellas. Have a great one.
You
Thanks,
too.
Pat.
And your call-in has now assured us an extra 50 listeners.
As it always does.
All right, Pat. Have a good night.
Good night, fellas.
I got to point something out. Mark said that viewership drops when he comes on. Has anybody seen my numbers? They're fucking minuscule. So this might be the lowest rated show ever.
Only one way to find out. We're going to plow through this thing, and then at the end we will... If this is the lowest rated show I've ever done, I will proudly proclaim that, and I will promote the hell out of it just because it's the least listened to. Ironically enough, making it one of the more listened to. But hey, I will take that ball and I will run.
Just change the subtitle from Symbiotes 2 or Venom, whichever it is right now, and call it Everybody Loves a Bad Guy. Worst show ever.
Yeah, comic book guy shows up. All right. Let's start off with Venom. He's the most well-known. Now, Mark, you and I talked about this a bit off air, but in conventional Spider-Man lore that what the general populace knows, Venom's a symbiote. But he was on a meteor that crashed into the planet Earth, and he bound himself to Spider-Man kind of through happenstance. That's what's in the third movie. That's what's in every television show, to the best of my knowledge. That's typical canon at the moment, but it's not accurate to the comics, and I know you know what goes on. So if you could maybe educate people about the traditional, Venom storyline, and then we'll kind of go from there.
It all started with the 12-part Secret Wars series that came out in the 80s. I want to say it was Marvel's big yearly crossover event. So for those who have enjoyed the Acts of Vengeance and Maximum Carnage and World War Hulk and Avengers Disassembled, it all started where the plot line was essentially this godlike being, the Beyonder, brought up a series of good guys and a series of bad guys, deposited them on a planet called Battleworld, and said, I need to learn stuff. Fight. And they spent... They spent the next 12 comic books trying to figure out how to get the fuck off this world, and figure out what this Beyonder was all about. It's a little tangential here. Secret Wars Part 2, the Beyonder comes to Earth and tries to figure out what it's all about down there, and I think then Dr. Doom steals his power. Hi, Pat. In any case...
Well, Doom would do that, because Doom's awesome. I covered this.
Yes. In any case, relevant to tonight's podcast, what ends up happening is Spider-Man's suit gets nearly torn to shreds, and so he's using the equipment at their base on Battleworld to try to get a new suit. And instead of getting a new suit, he accidentally sets free an alien symbiote that uses his memories and his feelings about the second Spider-Woman in her black and white costume, and he forms a costume in and of itself, the very famous black and white Spider-Man costume. And at first, they don't really detail any sort of sentience within the costume. It obeys his commands. It fires off its own webbing. It'll turn into clothing. It becomes like the perfect suit. What we find out after they get off of Battleworld and once he comes back to Earth is over a period of time, and this was covered pretty extensively in the Web of Spider-Man series. It was the third Spider-Man series come out after Amazing and Spectacular, that there was in fact an alien symbiote. It had feelings of its own. It was causing Peter Parker to become more ferocious, more not so much deadly, but definitely more violent as a hero, and it was starting to take over his life. So he ridded himself of the thing once he found out that one of the things that could defeat the symbiote was sound. So there's a very famous scene where he's in the church, and he's got the ringing of the bells, and the bells make the suit fall off of him, and that's how he divorces himself from the alien costume.
All right, and yeah, that's true, and we mentioned this a bit off air, but it's one of those things where everyone kind of looked at the traditional backstory of, oh, they went to Battleworld and he met it there, and okay, well, how are we going to do this? Well, he was on a meteor, it crashed to Earth. It works fine. And for as all-encompassing as the Secret Wars kind of storyline was, if you're just doing a Spider-Man television show or movie, you got to take that. You can't do the whole thing just to get to that point.
First of all, 2 other studios own the rights to half the heroes that were on the bloody thing. So, it would be impossible to do a Secret Wars type origin for it. But one thing I wanted to add additionally to that was they, over time, with the popularity of Venom and the black suit itself, they gave it its own origin story, which, as much as I enjoyed Secret Wars, I think that the whole concept of a planet of symbiotes and this one's the crazy outcast is really fascinating and something that I would like to see explored when Sony starts doing Venom movies.
Well, yeah, just to anyone who doesn't know, they actually gave the symbiote its own backstory. It was on a planet of symbiotes. It was different. The other symbiotes tended to be bonded with their hosts for a little bit, then they'd leave, and it wanted to, the Venom symbiote wanted to bond with one host and just use it until it died, basically. And everyone thought he was crazy for this. They looked at it, the rest of the symbiotes looked at this and said, no, you're different, you're crazy, be gone. Stuck him on a rocket ship, threw him. He wound up isolated in the Beyond, Battleworld where he was locked up. But everyone else kind of thought his entire species thought he was crazy for thinking, that sounds just vaguely familiar now, doesn't it? Now, when Sony starts doing, they start doing Venom movies, I agree, they should show that. And what was he mentioned? Morgan Freeman should narrate. He should do the voiceover for this whole sequence.
Yeah, I totally think that in the rebooted Amazing Spider-Man series, if they're going to introduce Venom that way and then start doing Venom solo movies, which I believe is the plan, I think they should actually start with the whole introduction of the movie should be Morgan Freeman narrating over visions of the planet of symbiotes, and there was once a planet of symbiotes there, but one of them stood apart from.
I would assume.
Damn it! There's a planet of symbiotes in the far reaches of the galaxy, but one stood apart from his race of beings as wanting to be more of a vampire type of symbiote than the rest, and they threw him off the planet like Zod from Superman and sent him to the far reaches of space.
If they put that like Zod from Superman in the Spider-Man movie, I'll pay to see it twice.
I would actually love to see as the symbiote goes one way towards Earth, Zod in the negative zone going the other way. It'd be great.
That would be great.
That would be great.
Hollywood, are you listening? In any case, and then and have him. They can skip Battleworld, they sent him away, and he's on his rocket ship or whatever. And it crashes into Earth, and then he gets out of the ship, and he goes, more brains, and then, we're off and running.
The irony of that particular statement is doing research, apparently the other symbiotes, and surprisingly there's more than one or two, there actually is a subset of symbiotes that eats brain. That's not a joke. Now, that's kind of Venom's backstory, and he winds up spawning fast forward after he gets, he winds up bonding with Eddie Brock because Eddie hates Peter Parker as well. It kind of fell on him, and the symbiote actually prevents him from dying. He has cancer in his adrenal glands, and the symbiote feeds off of adrenaline. That's one of the things it does, and it creates this wonderful relationship wherein this cancer will never actually kill Eddie Brock. Winds up in jail. He shares a cell with psychotic murderer Cletus Cassidy. Winds up dropping off part of itself, a child, so to speak, in the form of the black and red symbiote Carnage, which then bonds with Cletus, and they go on to wreak all kinds of havoc across the Marvel universe, depending on how much they feel like doing that, or just getting ripped in half by the Sentry. I mean, hey, an appearance is good. You get paid for that, right? Now, Jason, we talked previously a little bit about Carnage when we did just rest of the Spider-Man characters. We talked about his design, some of the fun stuff that was had with him. I kind of gave you a bit of a hard time about him being kind of a one-note character, and I will stand by that. I will say, however, that doesn't make him bad. It doesn't make him a bad character. So, why do you gravitate towards Carnage as opposed to Venom or... Here's the list, folks. I have the list here. Venom, Carnage, Toxin, Anti-Venom, which is just Eddie Brock in a slightly different suit, Dreadface, Scream, Lasher, Phage, Agony, Riot, Hybrid, Cobra, that's with 2 A's, Krobaa, Crowbar, I mispronounced that, my bad, Payback, ZZZ, XX, Scorn, or Mania. There's a lot of them. I bet you never heard of half of those. Knowledge gets dropped here. So, Jason, why Carnage?
Did their homework.
I did. I have. All right. So, Jason, why Carnage? What about him kind of drew you?
Well, number one, he's a ginger, just like me. I mean, that's
true.
That's always a plus. Soulless people stick together.
Yes, my younger brother agrees with you.
Secondly, I mean, Carnage is just awesome. I mean, Venom. I'll give you a backstory for me and Venom real quick. Originally, Venom was my favorite character. I loved Venom when he was with Eddie Brock. But then I kind of, when they started doing the whole anti-hero with Venom, he lost his appeal to me. So introduced Carnage, which another real cool thing about Venom is actually a Spider-Man reader came up with Venom and Marvel purchased it for $200 off of him. Yeah, I bet
Tell
that
me
guy
he got a royalty.
Nope. He got $200.
Oh, God. People out there, if you're going to sell your idea, get a royalty.
But, like I said, fast forward, when Carnage came about, Carnage was just the epitome and basically the Marvel Spider-Man universe equivalent to the Joker. Eric Larson actually modeled Carnage after the Joker, just being that complete psychotic, no remorse type character that just wanted to invoke chaos across wherever he is. And I kind of like that. Like, just like yourself, Robert, I kind of gravitate toward the evil side of things, like, wrestling. Some of my favorite wrestlers are actually heels, and
they're the interesting
that's what
ones.
Yeah, I mean, because you get so more substance. Because who really likes the do-gooders? Everybody has a darkness inside. With Cletus Cassidy, he's completely dark inside. There's no redeeming qualities of the man. I mean, growing up, he's a homicidal sadist. He killed his grandmother for one, pushed her down a flight of stairs, tried to murder his mother by tossing a television in her bathtub, then tortured and killed his mom's dog. So then his dad actually killed his mom because his mom tried to kill Cletus, trying to be the, the virtue of good to stop the evil. His dad actually killed him. So Cletus became an orphan. And just like many orphans, I mean, Mark, you could probably relate to this. I mean, in the field that you're in, people grow up in a unstable environment. They kind of fuck with each other. And Cletus being a smaller individual and
a
with
ginger.
I
don't get it, but for whatever reason, there's a large set of people who pick on redheads. I don't get it, but it's there.
Yeah, I mean, look, Eva Marie catches hell. That's all I'm going to say about that. But I mean, they picked on him. He was a smaller individual, and the only outlet he had was, I mean, the fucker was crazy. So fast forward, I mean, literally, he's batshit crazy. I mean, Mark could probably dissect him and have a field day. But fast forward and get him and Brock in a cell together, and, Brock's a big, intimidating dude, and Cletus was like, I'm not scared of you. And, he tells him about the whole Venom thing. Well, the Symbionite actually breaks Brock out of jail, and when he busts through the wall, he leaves a bit of himself behind. Cletus goes over, examines it, Symbionite drops on him, boom, you're introduced to Carnage. And from there, shit just gets real.
Well, yeah, like I said, just because he's a one-note character doesn't necessarily mean it's not interesting, which is kind of a contradiction in some terms. But when Carnage shows up, you know exactly what's going on. This is not, there's no talking around it. He's going to cause as much chaos and havoc and spill as much blood as he possibly can. And knowing that that's there can create for some pretty awesome storylines without necessarily having to try and develop a deep character or emotional conflict or all of the things that can draw us to other characters. Having a static guy who's just there to cause all kinds of chaos is not the worst thing in the world.
Can I interject here something? I'm fine with everything. I'm fine with everything he said there, except that the person who designed Carnage, basing him on the Joker, I think, without knowing what that person was thinking, maybe in look and in general level of malevolence, but there's a stark difference. The Joker, as I cataloged in our podcast a few weeks ago, and Carnage. Yes, they're both murderers, but Joker was all about trying to bring people down psychologically. It was not just about murder for the sake of murder. Joker wanted to rip the mask off of society and show it for the monster that he thought it was. Carnage killed people. Carnage didn't have sort of an ulterior motive here. There was nothing psychological going on. He just wanted to chop people into little itty-bitty bits. So
that's true and that's fair. But that was I believe what Jason is referencing is the guy who designed and created Carnage. From a basic standpoint, kind of took some inspiration from the Joker. Now, how far they deviated off, I'm with you. They're not terribly similar as far as characters go. But inspiration as a starting point takes you in a bunch of different directions, and the Joker has inspired his fair share of things that actually wound up being quite different.
Yeah, it wasn't like a carbon copy. Just the level of insanity that the Joker has is where I think that what he was actually going for, just to have a Marvel counterpart to the Joker, rather than, because Venom became so popular, and then they tried to make him the anti-hero because
it was
honestly,
the 90s.
Venom
Everyone was an anti.
Yeah, they tried to make Venom into the Punisher.
Hey, they which I want to talk about that because you don't like it, but I thought it was a great idea. Real quick, Benjamin
I don't
Cologne.
necessarily dislike it.
I was talking to Teasley, damn it.
What don't I like? I like everything you do, Mark.
Stop sucking up the
I've got
doppelganger. Benjamin J. Cologne, who does our wonderful title cards for Long Road to Ruin and occasionally Everyone Loves the Bad Guy, has just sent us in from the home game. They directly address the differences between Joker and Carnage in the Batman Spider-Man comic. So there you go.
All right.
Well, they're wrong.
All right.
We gingers have a bond, okay? And through the pages,
you're saying is the Joker dyes his hair green because it's naturally red?
Sure.
All right, now, Mark, you touched on something I want to get to as far as Venom goes. Now, this was a big craze kind of in the mid to late 80s, early into the 90s. Everybody got to be an anti-hero. Now, for those of you who don't know, there's some debate, some, differing opinions on how one defines an anti-hero, what goes into creating an anti-hero. For my purpose, my show, these are the parameters we're generally going to be using here. An anti-hero can be defined as someone who does heroic things for non-heroic. And that's a basic level of, okay, we can work from here. There's your starting point. Now, again, don't message bomb me with, you're an idiot, an anti-hero is this and this, or, that's my starting. That's kind of how we define it, and you can, work within that. But in in that time frame, everybody got, the Punisher got big, Batman had his back broken, and we got Azazel being Iron Batman type of thing there. Just everybody kind of decided, the Punisher got
crazy.
That's true too. Punisher got pretty big,
well,
he was a craze. And Venom went that route.
The defining anti-hero characteristic of Azrael, Punisher, Venom was all of these people were motivated by the ends justify the means. So the thing that differentiates Batman and Spider-Man from guys like the Punisher and Azrael and Venom was that, and this is directly addressed in in Batman comics, most recently in the Injustice storyline, obviously the game, with where Superman is evil and such that and that sort of thing is, why do you continue to allow these criminals to live? Why don't we just kill them? Because we keep sparing their lives out of a deeper sense of humanity. And because our system is flawed, they break out, they beat their charges, they do whatever, and they go off and they kill again. People suffer because of our perceived depth of humanity. So the Punisher, Venom, and Azrael were like, no, let's just kill these fuckers. That'll solve the problem right then and there. The ends justified the means. That was the big. That was the unifying factor of all of them.
Again, you probably know a lot more about that as far as the minutia goes than I do, so I will defer to your knowledge there, sir.
But sometimes you just got to stop evil.
Well, let me refer you. I brought this up before, but somebody put together, I think it was a Twitter conversation, though it might have been an instant message or whatever, between Spider-Man and the Punisher. Spider-Man's bemoaning that Doc Ock got out again. Punisher's response is, shoot him in the head. And they go back and forth. And they go back and forth for a little bit, like, what are you talking about? I can't do it. Yeah, no, shoot him in the head. 1 round. Here's a nickel. Go buy a .22 caliber bullet. Put it in the back of his head. No, you're crazy. Yeah, my bad guys don't keep coming back either.
Exactly.
It's on the internet somewhere, folks, I swear. You can find it.
That's why I like Carnage, because he has no conscience.
Yes,
No remorse, no conscience.
Have either of you played Injustice or read the comic book? I mean, Superman just kicks open the door as that Batman's questioning Joker, and to Batman's utter horror, he rips his spine out of his body, and Batman's like, why? And Superman's like, look outside, asshole.
No, I have not had a chance to play or read it.
I've seen that particular panel, so I know what. But yeah, that's exactly. I would have thought that at least Batman would have gone, "Thank you." Now don't do that again, type. I mean, we could have gone from there and Superman going crazy, but if you're gonna kill someone, the Joker's probably the most justifiable villain from any hero standpoint to say, you know what? No. Just die.
They're inherent. This is not the appropriate place to do it, but inherent in this is a conversation about the death penalty that this country still wrestles with. Not to bring down levity.
No,
that's really
you're right.
All
right. All right, now you said you didn't. I've kind of mentioned that. Okay, anti-heroes. Everybody got to be an anti-hero, and the sentiment and the the character arc and whatnot kind of became a little recycled as a cultural phenomenon. You didn't mind it for Venom, and actually his when he started kind of being a good guy, going the anti-hero route, I wasn't put off by it. It was just a different layer that I'll say a little less intrigued by than him just being a bad guy, which is not to say I wasn't still interested. So what was it about him going the anti-hero route that you?
Well, first of all, I understood that when anything becomes popular, the people who own the property are going to find ways to squeeze as much juice out of it as humanly possible. And there's only so much juice you can get out of something, I think, when it's the villain. I don't know how successful, maybe, Pat or Benjamin or someone listening has a better idea of this, but I don't know how successful individual titles are that are headed up by villains in the comic world. I don't know how well they sell. However, obviously comic book titles headed up by heroes, even anti-heroes, do sell well. That's the whole bedrock of the comic book industry, right? We don't buy the Ultron comic book, we buy the Avengers. So Pat is talking to me now about this. In any case, I think, once they knew they had a popular character on their hand, and they had, there's only so many times Venom is going to not kill Spider-Man, and either people are going to get bored and move on, or they've got to find another angle with him to keep him in the comic book and keep him fresh and relevant. Giving him his own series and making him an anti-hero was one way of accomplishing that, and it worked because, to this day, the character, lives on in its fourth iteration as Flash Thompson, which I'm assuming at some point we'll get to. But, the idea of a swole Spider-Man decked out in all black with a grisly grin, still works today. People like it. People like the imagery. So it's just a way, you just got to find a way to market it. And Pat submits this from the home game. The villain series don't do well because they're put into positions as heroes in these books, and that's not when people enjoy them. Think of how a face turn of a popular hero kills their momentum and makes them bland. Yeah, I think Pat's, really sums it up nicely there. If you're going to go ahead and give Venom his own series, you might as well turn him into some degree of a hero, because what are you going to do? Follow him as he walks around murdering people?
I'd buy it.
Well, sure,
Exactly.
you would.
That would be awesome. What would be wrong with that?
I feel like there would be a lack of a story. But, you know, you see what I'm saying? You have to, you know,
I do.
You have to find a hook here, and I think, you know, the anti-hero thing is the hook.
All right. I was not put off by it. It was just, I found it a wee bit less intriguing. But I agree with you that, you know, if you're going to turn it into its own kind of standalone property, yeah, as much as I think you should have the, you know, go ahead. If you're going to do a villain's comic book, don't put them in heroic situations. If someone buys a comic focusing on Doctor Doom or the Joker, we don't want to see them do good. We want to see them do bad things. And
well, look at the history of the Punisher. The Punisher started out as a villain. And I've actually gone back and reread the original Punisher. It's a terrible comic, but it's just awful. But, you know, if you go back and read the origins of the Punisher, he started out as a guy that was killing crooks. And he caught on, however, with the public, and they had, you know, and then they created this entire backstory for him, a sympathetic backstory, and he went on to live, you know, in many other comic books of his own, but as an anti-hero, as a, you know, as Azrael, you know, as the guy who's killing criminals.
Do we have to? Should I bring up Frankencastle?
No, but at some point, Patrick wants us to reference the What If, where the Venom symbiote attaches itself to the Punisher.
What if the Venom symbiote had the opportunity to attach itself to the Joker?
Oh, God. Let's not. That would. I don't even want to think about it.
For what that thing would have done to Barbara Gordon. Whoa.
Yeah, that's not a pleasant mental image. Thank you, but
hentai.
Actually, Venom's not, when he's attached, he's not as much about the tendrils. Actually, Carnage does more of that. Jason, Carnage actually, like, forms his hands and whatnot into cutting tools, doesn't he?
Yes, preferably an axe. That is his favorite incarnation with his tentacles. I guess they're called tentacles. His
something like that.
Extremities. We'll call them extremities. We'll use my big word from class I learned. His extremities, he likes.
The word of the day is.
Hey, just think that I'm going to be on an ambulance trying to rescue people and save lives. Let that sink in.
You're trying to be an EMT?
Yes. Take my EMT class. My final exam in May.
Good for you. That drove one of my friends crazy, so lots of luck.
Oh, I've got to do clinicals here shortly, and where I live, people have the tendency to get drunk and ride four-wheelers without helmets, so a lot of head injuries and broken limbs that protrude the body. So, yeah.
That's always fun.
But yeah, Carnage loves, just like the slice and dice, I guess, MO. His MO is slice and dice. He loves turning his extremity into, like, an axe and just hacking people to utter shit. I mean, just annihilating people. And I'm pretty sure that he gets some kind of thrill out.
Well, yeah, he's crazy. Of course he does.
No, crazy is an understatement. He is batshit crazy.
That's true. Sanity is relative in many, many ways. He's psychotic to the point of he enjoys killing people with an axe that a symbiote formed. So
he's greatly personality disordered.
Greatly, yes. All right, now, since Pat wants to mention briefly the what if the Venom symbiote attached itself to the Punisher instead of to Eddie Brock, it's actually a fun little one of the Marvel what ifs. Because for those of you who didn't listen to my Spider-Man podcast, and shame on you, Punisher was actually introduced first as a Spider-Man villain. He tries to kill Spider-Man before he realizes Spider-Man is not a criminal. But symbiote leaves Spider-Man and joins with Punisher instead. And, Punisher's a pretty... Frank Castle's got some violence. He's got some brutality. There's some angst, some anger. He enjoys shooting the people if he thinks they deserve it. You marry that with the aggression and psychosis of the Venom symbiote. He goes a little crazy. He beats Spider-Man. He attacks. He beats I think he kills like Tombstone and Kingpin, and he just keeps getting more and more brutal. He actually beats, Daredevil, Moon Knight, and Spider-Man at the same time. Daredevil, Moon Knight, and Spider-Man. I was right. Spider-Man eventually blasts him with a sonic blaster. Punisher overcomes the symbiote to the point where he actually, because he's so committed to his war on crime, he would rather die than not be in control of his own body. The force of his will makes the symbiote subservient to his desires. And he then goes on to, one would assume, continue said war on crime. All right, now, again, the Venom symbiote has had more than one host. Now, Mark, who's your favorite? Are you like the Eddie Brock version? You like Mac Gagnon? I think that's Gagnon.
To make this easier for you, I will tell you that you can't get better than the original. I'm assuming we're not talking about the women at this point. We're just talking about the 4 male Venoms.
Oh, come on. We could spend forever talking about Anne Wang.
Look, I don't think you can get better than the original. Part of what makes Venom a great character, I think, is the story. I said this on the WrestleCast. I said you can give people all manner of gimmicks, but if you don't give them a good story too, then you might as well make them plumbers and garbage men. It doesn't really matter. You have to give people a story for the public to buy into. And so the story of Venom was interesting to me. Here you had a guy that Peter Parker, publicly shamed, and his life was just falling apart. He was dying of cancer. He was at his lowest of the low, and then in comes this sort of angel of death, to come and give him new purpose, and his purpose was kill Spider-Man. Reminds me of the Hand of the Emperor, Mara Jade, in the Thrawn trilogy books from Star Wars. Where she's just trained from day one, kill Skywalker. And then when she finally has an opportunity, she kills like a Skywalker clone. She's like, "Oh, glad I got that out of my head." Something along those lines. So I think that's one of the reasons why I tend to favor Venom. I like the Flash Thompson version of it because it's a different character. It's the same powers and abilities and all that, but I like the idea of a symbiote super soldier, that's running around doing missions. But similarly, I like the Red Hulk for that reason too. I like now that we've long since done away with the Fall of the Hulk storyline and World War Hulks and all of that. They gave the Red Hulk new purpose in being a government spook as such. Running with Venom and the Punisher and some of these other characters. So, I like that sort of thing. It's different, but there's nothing like the original. Nothing like the original story.
Now, I've got to ask. We've got Sony has announced that they're going to do a Sinister Six film, and Venom I believe they're going to do a Venom spinoff. Venom gets his own series of movies. Yay. I got a brief correction. It was Mac Gargan, who was also the Scorpion, who was one of the Venoms. I believe the second, after Eddie Brock decided he was sick of having his adrenaline sucked off by the Venom symbiote and he was going to die, he auctioned it off.
You said sucked off.
I said auctioned off. But yeah, he auctioned it off and it went on the Scorpion, but okay, different. But okay,
Teasley, everybody. He's the host of his own show.
So we've got Venom movies
coming.
coming.
You, I'm a host.
So we got Venom movies coming up. One would assume more than one if there's a degree of success. Now, I don't know if Topher Grace has agreed to reprise his role as Eddie Brock, but I can't imagine that would go well. So, Mark, if you're kind of fantasy casting and you got a Venom movie, production company comes to you and says, for whatever reason, Mark, you get to cast Venom, and we're going with the Eddie Brock. Who would you like to see in that?
Well, you got to get somebody who's swole, I think. You got to get somebody who's fairly muscular. The Rock can't be in every.
I would like to refute that claim, sir.
I'm gonna go ahead and steal Pat Mullen's idea. Tom Hardy. He played Bane.
I know Tom Hardy.
Okay, well, no, maybe some people in your audience. Why don't you let your guests talk every once in a while? Let me get a word in edgewise.
Okay, well, hang on. Tom Hardy, for those of you who don't know, British actor, most famous for playing Bane in The Dark Knight Rises. He was easily in Inception. He played the title role in Bronson, which is a more independent British film about England's most notorious prisoner. For anyone who's seen Warrior, he was the younger brother. I forget his name. Tommy Conlon. Tommy Conlon. I got there. My mind is a steel trap.
Fantastic.
So okay, that's who Tom Hardy is for anyone who didn't.
Yeah, I mean I think he's got like the body shape for it. He's believable. We've seen him, it isn't, the problem with Topher Grace was he's not a bad actor. We can sit here and sort of bash on some of these, pretty boy, postmodern femme actors that are out there. But here's the bottom line. Topher Grace is not a bad actor, in all fairness. He was saddled with a very poor representation of Venom, obviously, but you can't blame it all on the actor. Movies are a joint thing between writers, directors, and actors, and business people. Okay, Pat also suggested Brock Lesnar. Yes, Brock Lesnar would be just fine if he could act. Brock Lesnar. First of all, Brock Lesnar couldn't even challenge The Undertaker without, for some odd reason, making it sound like a question. Do this now?
Yeah.
Anyway,
Question?
Okay. Maybe they weren't sure if Taker was going to go for it, so he actually did have to phrase it like a question. It was a shoot, folks.
Maybe he thought he was on Jeopardy and he had to, make all of his statements in the form of questions.
Answer in the form of a question. I like that.
In any case, Topher Grace is not a bad actor. Just saddled with a lot of things going against him.
Let me just say this: I shouldn't look at Venom and think, where's Kirkwood Smith to put his foot up your ass?
Well, that was the other problem, and that's where I was going with this. You've already seen Tom Hardy beat the shit out of everyone that got in front of him as both Bane and the character from Warrior. So it's not a far stretch in anyone's imagination to see him as a guy who can kick a lot of ass and a superhero. It is a lot to ask the audience to believe that Topher Grace can kick anyone's ass. This was the same problem we had with Hayden Christensen in Star Wars, but that is a whole other pod.
That was one of the problems. One of many. Okay, Carnage has not seen, kind of the light of day as far as mainstream media.
Hold on. I've got to throw this out because as Mark was talking, I was looking up possible Venom casting. You know who's the front runner currently?
Oh, God. I lay it on
Really?
us.
Because when I say this, Mark's going to lose his shit laughing.
From Breaking Bad?
Yes.
Yo, bitch. Science.
The bitch guy?
Really?
Also,
does Hollywood have a thing with small men, looking swole? What is wrong with these people?
Oh.
Also, the other name that's being batted around is Liam Hemsworth.
No, wrong. Hemsworth. Liam has no value.
I could see that over Aaron Paul.
I like Aaron Paul. I really do.
I don't think Aaron Paul's going to get it. Hang on. I don't think Aaron Paul's going to get it, and I'll tell you why. His Need for Speed movie is not doing well, and if he can't make it as a leading actor, they're not going to give him a hot property like Venom.
Well, they gave Andrew.
I've got the best Venom casting ever.
All right.
Pat Mullen?
Yes, Pat Mullen is Venom. Look what wonders he does on the Radulich Broadcasting Network. He could probably save the franchise.
I agree, and so does Pat.
But no, y'all's gonna laugh at me. I don't know the guy's name. I'll have to look it up. But my ideal Venom is Mark. Melissa will know this above anybody. Is the guy from Twilight?
Which one? Taylor Lautner or Robert Pattinson?
Taylor Lautner. That's what he's going with.
No, it's not. Emmett.
No, it's not.
No, it's the guy that plays.
Hang on. I know who you're talking about. I can't remember his name.
Yeah.
I will find it.
Hold on. I'm looking it up right now.
He's got the body shape for it. But he's got the body shape for it. I mean, I could certainly see him filling out the outfit, but I don't know if he's got. First of all, I don't know if he's got the chops. You couldn't tell in Twilight. They didn't give him a lot to work with. Number one. Number two, I don't know if he's got the cred to pull off a leading man role in a movie that would end up being a summer blockbuster. I mean, let's remember, these things are not just movies. These are big budget products. When you're talking about a movie like Venom, these things are meant to pull studios through the summers, so that they can make their money and put out stuff that's going to get them an Oscar, but that no one's going to go see. So if I would say you're going to have to go some to trust that with a guy who none of us on this podcast who watch movies could remember his name.
I remembered his name after I looked at IMDb.
That's not remembering. That's looking things up.
Hey,
it's something.
Yeah, I knew he was in Famous.
Teasley, as your boss, I'm going to tell you that looking things up is cheating. That's not remembering.
It's cheating fair.
Teasley, don't argue with the boss.
Okay.
Well, once we get salaried, you can pull that card.
Teasley already says all the time. He's like, well, you're the boss. I have to do what you say. So I'm going to play the card if he's going to keep referencing.
Okay, bye.
Well, let me say this. That was my problem. All right, I only scheduled this one for 60 minutes. This is probably a 90-minute show. So anyone out there, we've got 9 minutes of live airtime left. If we go into the over relay, that works.
Yeah, I do it all the time.
Yeah,
Okay.
you can adjust the time.
We can stay live up to 2 hours.
We're now 90 minutes. All right, we're good. Now, I knew we could go 2 hours. I just forgot that I could alter it after we were going. Okay, yeah, never mind. We got 40 minutes left. Ignore my previous statements, everybody. Live radio. I just brought this up. Assuming the first Venom movie is successful and we don't get Aaron Paul, and I like Aaron Paul, that is just poor casting. It is poor casting.
No, I'm right there with you, 100%.
Yeah, I actually wouldn't mind, now that I'm thinking about it, if they do a sequel, have Aaron Paul be Carnage. He could do crazy, right?
No.
Jackie who would you do? Ooh.
Jackie Earl Haley.
He always needs work, too.
Who? Wasn't there like a crazy person in a Matthew McConaughey movie?
No.
You know what I'm thinking of? I'm thinking of Edward Norton. I want to see Edward Norton play Carnage.
I don't want to see Edward Norton do anything.
Jackie Earl Haley. I mean, let's look at how great of the choices he's had. I mean, he was Freddy Krueger in the remake of Nightmare.
Don't.
He was Rorschach.
Hang on. I'm just going to warn you. Be very careful bringing up that movie around me or Sean Comer, because our disgust for that film is almost beyond. I thought it was that. Jackie Earl Haley was the one who made that movie. He was the only good part about that entire movie, apart from a couple of special effects sequences that weren't awful, and the vast majority of that should have been his ability. All right, I'm done. I'll save that rant for later. Because the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise is coming to the long, so I'll save my rant.
What about Kevin Spacey as? So I'm trying to look at people who have played psychos in previous movies. I mean, the Cletus Cassidy as he's drawn is not a big dude. He's really, really like lanky. So that's why I thought like Edward Norton, and I can't remember the name of the movie now, but he played an awesome crazy person in the one movie.
Opposite Richard Gere.
Yes. I thought he did an excellent job at that. I thought it's a believable character for him. It's not like he's playing the Hulk anytime soon. So, why don't you recast him in that? The other option would be Kevin Spacey, who also plays nuts really well.
I disagree.
I don't know. But the leading guy, when they did the Sam Raimi Spider-Man, when they introduced Venom, they was going to bring Carnage in for Spider-Man 4 with the Lizard. And
we clearly needed more villains.
And Jim Carrey was going to play Carnage.
Pat Mullen is genius.
We all seen how great he done with the Riddler. So just
not his fault.
That clusterfuck.
Not his fault. Once again, if you're told,
not his fault.
Your inspiration for this movie is Frank Gorshin, he did an excellent job of aping Frank Gorshin.
He did.
I hate Jim Carrey. Don't get me wrong. I think he's a terrible actor. But, I'm going to defend the guy in any of the, and I'm going to defend all of the actors in the Batman movies. When you're told this is what your inspiration is, do this, they all did a great job of doing the 60s character.
Hey, and I actually enjoy Batman Forever. For me, that was a rebound to at least a watchable movie after Batman Returns. And that's been my position for years, and I stand by it.
I will not challenge on that.
Jesse Starcher's Carnage.
Yes, let's fantasy cast from the internet.
Jesse is unable to play the home game because he's doing family stuff. And he had a very interesting story that he told me right before we came on air, and it was hilarious. And it was Spider-Man related in his terms. But it was if either one of you talk to him, just have him tell you the story. It is absolutely hilarious.
I will do. All right, well,
we could get Sean to play Carnage. Sean would be a good Carnage.
I'm going to insist
Sean's
that you step in
rages
here, host.
Variety. Okay, we're moving on from this. We're moving on. Actually, now, okay, here's kind of where I want to go with this. Venom and Carnage are kind of the two big ones, but as I mentioned earlier, there's more. There's a great deal of these symbiotes. Now, most of them, like I said, you've probably never heard of. Well, the way this worked was Venom kind of gave birth, so to speak, to Carnage, who decided it would be fun to create more copies of himself. And that's kind of where we get, a lot of these other ones. Now, not all of them are evil, believe it or not. I believe Toxin was not the most evil of characters.
Hang on, back up a second. Can you handle this in chronological order, because this is where I get a little fuzzy. Which is the one where is Maximum Carnage the one where they come up with the 5 different ones that eventually all get killed by one of them, or is that something different?
Maximum Carnage was Carnage's basically introduction, where he teams up with like I think it's Hobgoblin, the Doppelganger, Shriek, and there's somebody else I'm leaving out, and they just run.
Okay, it is Shrike, Demogoblin, Carrion, and Doppelganger.
That's Carnage's sort of introduction story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically.
Okay. Pat's saying Carnage was introduced prior to Maximum Carnage.
He was.
Like I said.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, I was just saying that because I wasn't reading a lot of comic books at the time, I got a little confused as to what the chronology was with. I mean, I understand they introduced Carnage. He then there's a story called Maximum Carnage. Then there's a thing where there's 5 different symbiotes running around, all with ridiculous names. Then one of them kills the other 4, and then they all form Devastator, the biggest of the Transform.
Let me see if I can.
So help me out here, somebody. Walk me through and the listening audience.
After Toxin, I'm kind of fuzzy on all.
I
have Toxin.
I have kind of my list here now. Toxin was spawned by Carnage, Anti-Venom, which was actually the remains of the Venom symbiote in Eddie Brock's body, which were combined with his own white blood cells. Anti-Venom possesses curative abilities, and he showed up once Venom kind of got a little more out of control. They wound up destroying that particular, and that went away. Not too much. I guess no one liked. All right, let me see. Where are you?
Right here
Okay.
it says Life Foundation.
Okay, I got it. Benjamin
Malone
has sent in the following. Carnage was introduced in 1992. Maximum Carnage was a year later, and Separation Anxiety came after that. And Separation Anxiety is the one that I keep talking about, where all 5 form Voltron and defend the universe.
Okay, I believe the ones referenced in that instance are. I have my list here, so I think this is accurate. I might be wrong. Scream, Lasher, Phage, Agony, and Riot.
That's the one.
Okay, yeah,
and they're all killed by Slink.
And Venom winds up absorbing all of them back into himself anyway, which is another fun little bit of trivia. Yeah, I'm looking at these lists of symbiotes, and every one of them seems to end with, and they were murdered by Eddie Brock. All right.
And there was much. I gotta wonder how much of that was the people at Marvel going, if we create 97 different symbiotes, let's see which ones end up becoming popular and that we can do extra books on. And then, and there was a resounding yawn, and they were like, quick, kill them all, kill them all!
Probably not that inaccurate, which is kind of sad because, the whole symbiotes are interesting, visually. I mean, if for nothing else than a visual standpoint, what you can do with them as an artist is really fun. I mean, like I said, I think Carnage, from a design standpoint, was superior to Venom when they were first kind of juxtaposed, and then Venom went a little more beastly, got buffer, got more, again, more feral, more animalistic there.
In the Lego version, it looks exactly the same. As a matter of fact, in the Lego version, Venom, Carnage, and Ultimate Spider-Man all look alike. They all have like little Lego tentacles coming off their back.
Huh.
I really thought
shocked by the sameness of a Lego franchise. Wait, no, I'm not. It's Legos, folks.
Everything is awesome.
Everything is awesome.
I haven't seen that movie yet, actually.
I've seen everything for the last 10
All right, fair enough. But yeah, there's a huge list of these symbiotes, and I think you're probably right, Mike. They said, okay, everyone loves the symbiotes. How many can we make? And oh wait, no one likes any of them. All right, where's Venom? He'll come in. He'll clean it up. I assume that's very similar to what professional wrestling meetings are like for large men. All right, we're gonna give them all a gimmick. Oh crap, it didn't get over. Where's the under?
We're out of the black guys. Get Lashley Kofi and R-Truth in here. We're going to make a new nation. Oh, fuck it. Costume.
Actually, if you want to go that route, Brock Lesnar's leaving the company. Okay, give his gimmick to Bobby Lashley. He's big.
Yeah, that worked out so well.
Triple H. You got to throw Booker T. I listened to the Wrestlecast on my way home from work today. That's why I'm making all these funny jokes. Mark and him made on the Wrestlecast about Triple H saying that his people don't win WWE titles. By his people, he means former WCW talent.
Which I believe was like the genuine thing he tried to mean there. It just came off as blatantly racist.
Yes, but
Well,
let's get back to this. Let's get back to the symbiotes, shall we?
Him and Ric Flair offered Booker T a job as a chauffeur.
Did they mean to draw
at which
one of
point...
Hang on. I have a relevant question here. Did they mean to draw the boobs on one of the symbiote girls bigger than the other girl's boobs? The one that isn't Scream. Okay, the one that is not Scream, I feel like she has a bigger chest than the one that is Scream. I mean, am I wrong here? Look at this picture.
I see it.
Yeah, she's like huge tits, right?
Wow. How can I not use this picture?
It's on the Facebook. What is it? It's on the Facebook page. I believe I tagged you in that one. It should be up there. You should be able to. You should have got the link for it.
But Pat would like to inform me of an anatomy issue that not every woman's boobs are the same. I understand that in real life, but in comic books, they're all the same, huge.
No, they're not.
Yeah, Jessica Rabbit proved it.
We're not all drawn the same.
No. Oh, boy. So they made... Never mind. All right. Yes, I can see that. What's your point?
I feel like we should take this discussion and further. I feel like we need to spend the next several hours discussing
of women's chests in comic book. You are not 13, sir.
All right. What do you want to talk about?
Are you talking about the one in the purple? Those are masks.
That's what I'm saying. They're like ridiculous.
All right.
I mean,
all right.
I understand that, like...
Those are Trish Stratus level.
Oh, no, like those are bigger than Trish Stratus.
It's like
those
Trish Stratus and AJ Lee.
Those are... AJ Lee's chest is small.
He's comparing the two. Said one is AJ, the other is Trish.
Yeah, the purple's Trish and the yellow's AJ.
All right. Enough of this.
We're starting to get into fantasy Wonder Woman level.
All right, enough of that. I don't know why the artist chose to do it that way. I couldn't tell you. But lest we get too far off into discussing the female anatomy here... And debatably,
it was okay to discuss the latent racism in pro wrestling on this podcast, but I start talking about tits, and everyone gets upset with me.
Well, we don't want you. Time.
Hold on, Mark. We don't want you to bust your stitches, okay?
That was a week ago. I'm just fine now. Let's talk about my vasectomy. Question 1.
All right.
I've created a monster with a dish report. Yes, Benjamin, yes, you have. Yes, apparently. I remember when we were discussing symbiotes, and we will get back to that.
Okay. All right. So, getting back to said symbiotes, what else? Apart from those 5 and the ones we've discussed, was there anything else you wanted them to do? I mean, maybe with the concept. Maybe you want to talk about other versions. Because it's a good concept. It's a great basis for a story, for a character. Is there anything that, and Mark, I'll start with you here. I mean, is there another version of Venom or whatnot that you feel should be discussed or anything like that?
Comic. I would have liked to have seen them do more with the She-Venoms. I think Brock's wife kills herself and she doesn't last very long. I would have liked to have seen them explore that a little bit more. I would have liked to have seen a situation where she can't get away from the symbiote, and there's storylines sort of involving that, her doing different things to herself to try to get away from this thing, and maybe an arc where she sort of embraces it and goes nuts, that sort of thing. I would have maybe they could have done something where again kind of exploring the stuff with the She-Venoms. Maybe one of the symbiotes jumps on Mary Jane, and now you've got sort of a Hulk deal where, when Mary Jane's in control, things are okay, but then the symbiote takes over and she goes nuts, and now Spider-Man has to figure out what to do with that, because he doesn't want to hurt the woman. There was all kinds of things they could have done when you have a concept that's as far-reaching as symbiotes jumping on people and taking them over. I think they kind of limited themselves in a way, and this sort of 5 symbiotes that we were just talking about is a good example of that, where it was like I said before, it was just sort of they threw people gimmicks with nothing behind it. I think the only way that this works, once you've decided that you've given it to I go back to my earlier statement. The reason why Venom works is because the guy in the costume had a personal issue with Peter Parker. I don't feel like Carnage is as strong of a character, sorry, Jason, because he's just a murderer. And haven't we already got plenty of those in the Marvel Universe? So I feel like the only way that the symbiote really, really works is if the person in the costume has an interesting enough story to dig into. So, there was all kinds of people that could have thrown that suit on to give Peter some personal agita. Mary Jane, I threw out there. J. Jonah Jameson would have been hilarious. Could you imagine?
J.K. Simmons as Venom? Yes, I can.
That damn Spider-Man, you're a menace. I'm going to kill you now. I've got the power. That would have been hilarious to me. It would have been interesting. And then take it away from him again. And I had the power once. That sort of thing.
Without his sword.
Benjamin threw out there that this only works if J. Jonah Jameson is Venom with the mustache.
Oh, you're darn right. It only works if he has the mustache.
But it has to be more in a more exaggerated mustache where it's like handlebar.
Oh, it's not just handlebar. It's got to have the tendril thing. He can control it. It's his weapon.
That would be awesome.
My mustache has you now.
Yes, exactly. Kind of speaking to that, hang on a sec. Jason isn't in the Ultimate Universe, didn't Carnage take on the form of Gwen Stacy?
Yes, he did. He also, in one of the alternate universes, he also took on Peter. Peter Parker became Venom. Carnage, and that was fucking crazy. But
yeah,
but all the ultimate,
I just had to clear that up.
All the ultimate stuff, it gets so convoluted, it's kind of hard to keep track of.
Isn't that why they ultimately did away with the ultimate stuff? Was that it went crazy?
One would assume. I don't know.
To finish answering your question, as I said, I want to see them explore more of the symbiote planet. That's the only other thing I was going to say was I would like to see either in another comic book, definitely in the movies. I would love to see them explore more of the symbiote thing. It's still out there. It's still doing stuff. Like I said, Flash has it now, but you've got all these other symbiotes running around. I would almost like to see a situation where symbiotes come down to come get it.
They decided they decided the symbiote was not crazy after all, and we need him to lead our revolution.
No, more along the lines of we didn't realize he was going to crash on another planet and cause all these problems. Our bad. We'll come get him now.
Well, that's an interesting point because I think the first symbiote that ever landed on was not Venom. It was I think it was Dreadface, which took place in the Fantastic Four episode. It's one of the same symbiotes, but it lands on the Earth so that it can gain knowledge about humanity and bond and gain diversity and whatnot. And it winds up going crazy because human deal, and it loses its mind, winds up committing suicide. So there is precedent there. That's all. So no, I kind of like your idea.
It would be an interesting concept.
All right.
Whoopsie.
This was supposed to go into your son. Sorry about that.
Whoops. My bad.
See, we just kind of got around to figuring out how the gravity of your planet would have affected this, and we're sorry.
It would have been even better. Actually, it would be even better if they didn't send him in. If the real story was that they didn't send him into exile. They had locked him up in prison. And got on a spaceship and crashed, onto Earth or Battle of whatever storyline you want to do. And they were just like, hey, we've been looking all over the galaxy. We ended up actually on Metropolis for a little while. Turns out that wasn't him. That was really Zod. We got back on the spaceship. We kept going. We had a problem with Skrulls. The whole 9 yards here. They could tell you a whole tale of how they eventually tracked him down to Earth. I could see the picture now. They have wanted and then a picture of just a glob with eyes of the symbiote.
So would this be the blonde symbiote, Dog the Bounty Hunter?
No. This is how you introduce Steve Black.
Oh, Mark, did you see the tweet I made about that earlier?
Yes, I did. I wasn't sure if you were kidding or not.
No, that'd be awesome. Now, hold on. When season finale of the Steve Blackman bounty, he has to hunt Ken Shamrock.
It ended a cliffhanger. Here's your next job. We pan over to the wanted sign of Ken Shamrock.
How awesome would that be? The world's most dangerous man against a crazy fucker.
Well, Shamrock could use the money, and we all know reality TV is actually scripted.
No, it's not.
I could go with that, actually. Don't make me bust out the Heisenberg uncertainty principle on you. I've had to use that already this week.
But, whoever is running the WWE Network programming, just we all know you listen to Mark and Sean on Long Road to Ruin. They get shit done. But please make a little note to Vince on that one. That would be awesome.
All right. Only if they have the showdown over.
Oh.
Yeah, that's bad.
While Free Falling plays in the background.
Okay, now that's in bad taste. I just said it for a setting.
Too soon? Too soon?
A little bit. We have not yet reached the South Park mathematical. All right, so any other of these symbiotes that you wanted to touch on, Jason? Or storylines regarding them that you like or would like to see, ideas? Because there's some poor unpaid intern listening to this who's going to take our ideas. So anything that you want to throw out there as far as that goes?
I would honestly like Mark brought up earlier, said that the comic book wouldn't sell. I would love to see a villain perspective like Carnage, to follow him just being murderous. I mean, shit like that sells. I mean, that would be like off just to have.
You want to pick it up and fall out of the comic book.
Or basically, or even better, revisit Maximum Carnage and write it from Carnage's perspective.
What's his perspective? Kill, meow, kill.
Well, I mean, the symbionite, and, you got to have that mental linkage. Imagine the conversations fucking Cassidy's having in his head, the internal dialogue.
The internal dialogue he's having is meow, 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 meow,
hey.
Hang on.
No, that's the internal. That's what Robert Cooper hears all the time.
No, Robert Cooper hears Bane Cat.
Bane Cat is awesome. Bane Cat is awesome.
Have you seen that? The cats, they dress up as Bane and they use his sound bites. Somebody, I can't remember who linked it on Facebook. I think it was you, actually, Mark, who linked it on Facebook.
I did. As soon as I saw that today, I was like, I got to show this to Cooper. And everybody else likes it, and Cooper hasn't reacted to it yet.
I love that. That was awesome. What did you do? I peed in it. We both know after killing.
Okay, Jesse's listening. Yay, Jesse.
Yay. Our producer is back.
All right, moving on from Bane Cat.
Oh, hold on. Benjamin just posted something that I may have to hunt down on him.
Carnage told the story from Carnage's perspective, written by Warren Ellis. Damn good and creepy.
Carnage Mind Bomb for anyone out there who can't follow along with what we're doing live on Facebook. Oh yeah, there you go. I have
about it too.
I'm gonna
gotta get eBay and find this shit.
You can find anything there pretty much. All right, so Mark, any other things you wanted to touch on as far as this goes? If not, we're gonna kind of start wrapping up.
No, I mean, we talked. I think there was a missed opportunity to do more with the She-Venoms. Aside from that, other than, unless you want to address how Spider-Man 3 was handled, which I could talk at length about. I don't
talk briefly about that. Go for it.
Well, look, for those who didn't hear the Long Road to Ruin Spider-Man podcast, which I don't blame you, considering part of it was inaudible. Our panel member, Mr. Jeff Harris of 401mania.com, had some phone issues that night. But I wrote a column when Spider-Man 3 came out. Spider-Man 3 was one of those movies where, like Man of Steel, almost everybody I knew who read comic books hated the movie. And I was like, well, it's not that bad. Let's talk about what some of the issues are here. And I know one of the problems that people had with Spider-Man 3 was everyone keeps taking off their mask. And this is a Hollywood movie. As I call it, the Judge Dredd principle, which is you can't hire all of these big-name actors and leave their mask on. Because as you're a studio executive, I'll get to that, Pat. He just texted me jazz dancing.
Emo Peter Parker.
That was bad, too.
Well,
he did the Saturday Night Fever dance past the Heroes Cafe.
I'm not going to defend that. I think the people who made the movie didn't understand the character. I think that, much like Bane, they knew that the character was popular. They had a semblance of why he was popular, but they really misunderstood what the motivations were. And so what you're seeing in Spider-Man 3 is what you saw in Batman Rise of Darkness or whatever the hell it was called.
Which one are you wait. Which one are you talking about? Where they messed up Bane? Because they messed up Bane in Batman and Robin.
They also messed up Bane in Batman the Dark Knight Rises.
Dark Knight Rises. The last 10 minutes kind of messed with it. Other than that, I thought it was a great way to...
they screwed with Bane the entire movie. That's a whole other podcast.
I have not... I wish to refute your claims, but moving on.
Well, you can in 2 months when I come back. Gloriously to the long road to ruin. My first show back will be The Dark Knight, and you can hear why they didn't get Bane right through most of that movie. In any case, what you're saying is a reflection of, I think, the studio thinking they understood what these characters were about, but not really. If you throw out the canon, throw out the comic book, and just look at what was happening in that movie, yeah, it was a bit of a jump for Topher Grace to go, I'm publicly shamed, I just want to murder. Well, I've seen worse. And the other thing is, you don't hire Topher Grace without showing Topher Grace's face. You just don't. I mean, I'm not a fan. Do you work in Hollywood, sir? Are
No.
you a studio executive? These people.
Well,
are
let me put it to you
concerned
this way: what has Topher Grace done since that required him to show his face?
Every movie he's ever been in.
Name me 3.
Okay, hang on. I'm going to
Don't
cheat
know.
now.
You don't get to look it up. I'm making a
Yes,
point.
I do. I don't watch Topher Grace movies, but I know he's been in a bunch.
All right. Since Spider-Man, you're looking up his filmography. After that, and the fact that it's going to take you forever
He was
to
in
find
Predators.
it. Kind of,
He was in Predators. He was in Predators. He showed his face in Predators.
okay, there's
He also
one.
showed his face in Win a Date with Ted Ham.
Tad
What
Hamill.
is it? Yeah.
Yeah, Josh. I know the movie. I could name you 3. I choose not to because I hate the guy because I have no interest.
He's a whiny bitch.
Valentine's
Hang
Day.
on. What? He was in that?
Yes, he's in Valentine's Day. In 2010, he was in the following movies: Valentine's Day, Deathbed Subtext, which is a short film, and Predator.
Sucked.
Okay, and in 2011, he was in Take Me Home Tonight and The Double.
Sucked.
In 2012, he was in the Giant Mechanical Man, and in 2013, he was in The Big Wedding.
So we'd all be better off if so. His face has not benefited his career at this point, is what you're saying.
No, that's not true.
Maybe he needs the Mark Hamill treatment.
I'd be more
It was
interested.
in Valentine's Day, folks. It was
So
an
were 30
ensemble
other
romantic.
people.
It was an ensemble room. Why am I defending Topher Grace?
I don't know.
Fucking knows?
I don't know, but it's amusing.
Do you have a man crush on Topher Grace?
Oh,
Nobody
here
has any type of crush on Topher Grace except with a rock.
we go.
All right, okay, we're kind of moving on. Back to that you were getting to, Mark, about Venom and Spider-Man 3.
Just that, if you don't know anything about the comic books, I think there's room to enjoy Spider-Man 3 for what it was. Yes, his motivation to suddenly go from shamed reporter to must kill Spider-Man was a bit hackneyed, but I've seen worse in the film. Again, if you don't get caught up in the fact that why does he keep taking off his mask, the final action sequence was fun enough where I don't, the movie doesn't bother me. And and the last part about it, the Spider-Man costume was making him more violent, and they decided to go with more emo. I get it. I know everyone hates the jazz dancing scene. I hate the jazz dancing scene. Something that was funny once, and they managed to beat it to death. But again, that's kind of Hollywood. Why try to portray angst on screen when you can just have silly dancing, and a bit of a hair tussle?
If he would have done jazz hands, that would have just been the icing on the cake.
It would have been better with jazz hands.
I submit to you that Spider-Man 3 isn't as terrible as everyone thinks it is. You just have to not read comics.
And I submit to you that you're wrong.
All right. We have that debate. That's been had. I see both sides. All right. Well, we're going to start wrapping up.
It could have been so much better. But I think
lots of things
the
could have been so much better. Hang on. The Avengers could have been so much better, but that's not what we're talking about here.
No, I'm just saying they wedged Venom in just for the fanboys bitching, and the whole new Green Goblin was just horrendous.
James Franco, come on.
I'll tell you what. The new Green Goblin thing was fine. That I think needed to be in the story. It was something that they had been setting up from the first two. And Venom, I thought was they needed to do more with Topher Grace. They needed to have Venom doing more, not just show up in the third act and be the final boss. I think if they had Venom show up in the second act and do some truly terrifying things, throw Mary Jane out a window, stuff like that, it would have been much better. It would have been much better. The problem was they tried to shove too many characters into that movie, and the one they didn't need was the Sand, who served zero purpose other than take up screen time in the first two-thirds.
I actually think it would have been better if they just focused on Sandman. But the point stands. There's too many characters.
Well, yeah, they needed to lose a character. If they were gonna have the Sandman in it, they should have taken Venom out. If they were gonna have Venom in it, they should have left the Sandman. The one character they could have kept was the new Goblin.
Well, except James Franco. It's just off.
Oh, God, stop hating. Look, the Radulich Broadcast Network should stop hating on Pretty Men. Pretty Men exist. Hollywood loves them. They sell tickets. Get over it.
The first time James Franco entertains me, I will stop hating. There's my caveat. James Franco, any movie, entertain me, I will stop hating.
Okay, what was...
I'm trying to think of a James Franco movie that's entertaining.
I'm going to find one. I'm going to be... if I have
This
to
is
be
the end?
for everything, I will. Damn it.
This is the end wasn't horrible.
First of all, I haven't seen it. Second of all, I won't see it because Seth Rogen.
Okay, I think Never Been Kissed was okay. That was back in 1990.
Wait a minute. That's Drew Barrymore and, Matthew Vaughn?
I believe so,
Yes.
I may have seen it, but I don't remember him, so I don't care. Doesn't count.
Let's see. I've never seen any of these movies.
You're making my point for me here.
Shit. Wow, I really have never... Don, Pineapple Express. Express.
Haven't seen it.
Homefront.
Never saw it.
I haven't seen it. I actually wanted to see Homefront because Jason Statham just gets to kick everyone's ass, and that's always good time.
Here we go. He was in Eat, Pray, Love. Done. There it is.
I'm sorry. Wasn't that a crappy Julia Roberts movie that I haven't seen?
He played the former rapper Snow in the movie Spring Breakers.
He was in Rise of the Planet. He was just fine in Rise of the Planet of the Apes.
Yeah, Rise of the Planet of the Apes.
He was upstaged by Andy Serkis and John.
That doesn't mean he was bad.
Doesn't mean he was entertaining either.
He was fine. He was serviceable. I will tell you
Atlas was a good movie.
Here's what I will tell you he was terrible in, but his performance pales in comparison to the horror that was Mila Kunis. Oz the Great and Power. My wife has a high tolerance for terrible movies. Even this one, she was like, this fucking is unwatchable.
All right, well, now that we've bagged on James Franco, and I maintain the man has never entertained me.
Who are you to sit in judgment of James Franco?
I'm not judging James Franco. I'm saying he never entertained me.
You're not allowing him to entertain you. You're standing there, tomato firmly in hand, and and saying, I will not allow you to entertain.
The first time he's actually in a movie that I want to see, and he entertained me, my opinion will change. Here, I am allowing myself to be influenced by external stimuli. We can't get any fairer than that, can we?
Let's see. I need you to go watch a few movies, okay? Go watch... this one seems fun. About Cherry. Go watch About Cherry. He plays Francis. I bet he'll be entertaining.
I have no idea what that is.
I don't know what it is either. But, here, 127 Hours seems to have won a lot of awards or were nominated for them. Watch that. I bet he's entertaining.
First of all, that is nothing. I know the real story behind that movie is exponentially more interesting than the film itself, and I actually like Danny. That movie is
Milk.
He's
in Milk. 2008's Milk.
You're just making me dislike him.
Sean Penn's in Milk, too.
Yes, and he got an Oscar that he did not deserve.
I think you should go back and watch Milk and see how entertaining James Franco is in that movie.
Nothing about that movie entertained.
You're a hard man to please.
No, I'm not. I know what I like and I know what I don't. It doesn't make me hard to please. It makes me aware of my parameters.
He was in Fly Boy.
Mark's all about parameters.
Oh, God, he wasn't. He was completely forgettable in Fly Boys. And I've seen that movie. I forgot he was in it.
He was in City by the Sea. That's got De Niro in it and Frances McDormand.
I haven't seen it. Didn't it also have Benicio del Toro?
It's got Elijah Dushku in it. See, all right, your homework assignment here is to go home and watch City by the Sea and tell me how entertaining James Franco is.
And be disappointed in it? Come on. I got enough disappointment.
I think you need to watch Spring Breakers.
No. Why? I don't like... As a general rule, I don't like comedies, and I really tend to dislike stoner comedies. Since that's pretty much the sum total of his comedic talent, I'm just not into...
Spring Breakers is not a comedy.
What is it?
It's shit, but it's not a comedy. It's about these high class females go on spring break, get arrested. James Franco looks like Sean Paul, bails them out, and then they go on like this fucking murder robbery spree.
Okay, I will never watch Spring Breakers because Pat Mullen has informed me that Jeff Jarrett is in it.
Jeff Jarrett is...
Isn't that a reason to go watch it?
Jeff Jarrett has never got a dime of my money, and he will not do so now.
Jeff Jarrett is awesome. JEFFJARRETT.
Can I quote Vince McMahon and say he's G-O-O-N-E gone?
All right, I got
Okay,
nothing.
we are way off track here, but we're getting back there. All right.
We was talking about Symbiotes.
All right. Okay, so anything else back in the realm of Spider-Man villains, and I'll open this up just a bit, that we may not have touched on yet, and I say just a bit, you get 50 words or less here, that we haven't touched on yet, because I believe this is going to be kind of the last time I hit Spider-Man villains during this whole sequence of podcasts. So, Jason, anything, closing thoughts type deal before we get into plugs?
Closing thoughts is Carnage is far more superior to Venom. You said he's a one-note character. Yeah, but when that one note is completely fucking batshit crazy, it equals awesome. There, I've said my...
All right. Mark,
Robert Cooper just found the Bane Cat video.
And that's his 50 words. Let's wrap this up.
All right.
Good night, everybody.
All right. Mark, what do you got coming up apart from an imminent trip to the emergency room with your wife? Which is not as bad as it sounds. I don't mean emergency room necessarily.
Let's see. What do I got coming up? Well, Sunday, I'll be hosting 411 Ground and Pound radio show.
You'll not be all right, Mark.
Yeah, assuming I'm home, I will be hosting the 401 Ground and Pound radio show. We don't really have a whole lot to talk about because there isn't a show to review or preview. I mean, obviously there's a lion fight tonight as this is recording, Bellator, and then tomorrow night is the World Series of Fighting. And then on the 4th, I'll tell you what's happening next weekend right now. Next weekend, as far as cards go, there's a Bellator and then there's a Legacy Fighting Championships, both on the same night. Bellator is headlined by Minikov versus Congo, and the Legacy fight on Axis TV is going to be headlined by yet another Holly Holm fight. So, there's that to talk about, but there's nothing related to the UFC. There's been some card changes.
Henan Barrow is now main eventing UFC 173.
Yeah, I saw that. Good for him. He's like the... if people actually start buying pay-per-views that he's on, he will be the only star that they've successfully made in the last few years that Dana White didn't turn around and sabotage and promptly bury.
Hey, somebody, I forget who it was on 411 Mania, started the Barrow-Maniac movement. Barrow-Mania is running wild. We need to keep this thing going, folks.
I agree.
He has sweet dance moves, and he looks like... I imagine waking up and seeing... the face of Henan Barrow in the darkness would be enough to get you to defecate your pants, given the bizarre structure of his face. But let's get this man. Let's turn this man into a star.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with Henan Barrow. I mean, he's finished his last 2 fights. I'm not going to complain. So he's fighting T.J. Dillashaw. So we'll probably talk about that as well instead of Rafael Alfonso. Again, if I'm home and I'm not currently. Dealing with my child, then Tuesday is going to be, regardless, is going to be the last Metal Hammer of Doom. We're going to look at the Austrian Death Machine album. It's going to be an interesting show because we'll be doing it, we'll have only heard the album that day, and it might just be, if we don't get a chance to hear the whole thing, we might be doing sort of a live review of the album, like not having been able to hear it beforehand. So that'll be fun. So it'll be Triple Brutal by Austrian Death Machine or nothing. I won't be here. It's a mystery, folks. One never knows. But I think that's it. I think I'm done with podcasts. I mean, as the time and availability allows itself, I'll continue to do the Casual Heroes WrestleCast. One other thing I want to plug, April 6th, unless my wife is actively popping out a child during the pay-per-view, I will be hosting a pre-show and a post-show for WrestleMania. So it'll be one of these deals where April 6th, we'll put up the pre-show. Rob will do the 401 Ground and Pound show at 9 o'clock. They're going to pull out at 10:30, and then we'll jump on at 11 o'clock to recap WrestleMania and take phone calls. So that's still on the agenda. I can't imagine.
So when Batista walks out of
happen.
WrestleMania as the WWE World Heavyweight Champion, I'm not joking.
Yes, sir.
I firmly believe he will. I will be. At which point I will just be done again. But how this is a completely off-topic rant, but here's my thought process. They want to put the belts on Batista. That's been the plan since they negotiated to bring him back. Nothing has changed. The only thing that changed is CM Punk walked out and people like Daniel, and nobody wanted to see Batista and Orton. So you insert a guy who people do want to see. He's going to be there more than likely to eat the fall. And Batista becomes heel and no one cares. And Batista reigns until SummerSlam, and no one cares. That's my prediction.
Well, let me go you one better, Mr. Robert Cooper, Robert Winfree, Robert McNamara.
Ronnie, Bobby, Ricky, or Mike.
Yes. Here's the deal. If anyone but Daniel Bryan wins that title at WrestleMania, I will be spending the podcast. I mean, I'll host and I will direct traffic and take calls. But as far as my opinion, or anything I have to say about the pay-per-view, I will be replacing thoughts about the pay-per-view with selections from Charles Krauthammer's most recent book, Things That Matter.
Nice. I approve of your strategy there. And look, that's my position on it. That's what I think is going to happen. I've already kind of mentally and emotionally checked out.
I think Trips is walking out with the title.
I'd find that more interesting than either. I'll say that.
So, folks, Daniel Bryan wins, or you're going to get a lot of Charles Krauthammer that night.
I think we should just do like Chrisley sound bits if Daniel Bryan doesn't win.
We may actually that's more likely to happen. We may just end up talking about the Chrisley show.
All right,
the camel toe.
Jason, what do you got to plug?
Well, last night in the cheap seats, me and Coop welcomed the host and co-host from the championship rounds, Mr. MVP himself, in totally 80s, Pat Mullen, and Gavin Napier. They joined us to talk greatest sports movies, considering that everybody's NCAA basketball bracket was totally fucked. So we got on, we discussed movies. After about me getting off work until we recorded, constant bitching and moaning about me picking 80 movies to go over, I narrowed it down to six because, as Gavin pointed out, when he done his wrestling draft, I got to learn how hard it is when you give people opinions rather than just say, here's your list, deal with it, we'll go from there. But it ended up being great. I must say that Pat Mullen does a great Harry Carey impersonation that caused hysterical laughter for a good 2-3 minutes solid from everybody on the podcast. So if you haven't checked it out yet, please go listen to it, because me and Pat's kind of got a little side bet to see how many, if he can actually be the MVP and bring me up over 100 listens for a week. Other than that,
you're not even close.
So if I don't listen and you win the bet, what happens?
I don't know yet. We haven't made the wager, but Pat feels confident in himself that before we record in part 2 next week, where we discuss football and basketball moves, that we will be up to at least 100 listens, just because he's on the show.
All right, we'll see how that goes.
Oh, hold on. I have confirmation that if we do not get over 100 listens for the shows that Pat's on, he will quit podcast.
Well, it's been nice knowing Pat.
We wish you all the best.
Thanks, Mark.
Endeavors.
Hold on. Mark, you're the one that gave me the show.
I'm not commenting about the... No, stop.
You said Teasley. You said Teasley. If you look like Rodney Dangerfield, here's the ball, run with it. I have one good show that was actually shit that got over 100 listens.
Any further, let me explain what I just said. You are currently at 25 archive listens, okay? Generally speaking, these shows have about a 2 to 3 day thing where people will continue to click on them, and then, maybe you'll pick up listens over the next course of the year that'll pick it up. But pretty much where you're at now is where you're going to be for the next week. So for you to get another 75 listens, it would be odd.
Right, hang on. If everybody listens to this show, goes and listens and clicks on that one, I'll tell you what, you don't even have to listen to the whole thing. Click on it. Give them the archive listen.
I don't care if you listen. Just download it.
Yeah, if you guys do that, everyone who listens to this does that, we'll need only another, 25? We'll get about halfway there.
I don't know. Remember, Mark said that your numbers drop when he comes on. And with me on, your numbers are going to bottom out. So we might have, Benjamin, Comer, and...
Well, hang on. Let me tell you this.
We might just have 4 people listening.
Hang on. We have the most live listens to... this is the most live listens we've had on a podcast this week.
Nice. I draw in the live crowd. No one comes twice, but they always listen live. And this is the type of conversation they get. All right. Jason, any other plugs?
We're bringing Pat and Gavin back on to do part 2 this coming Thursday at 9 o'clock. Hopefully, unless I have clinicals and I have to rearrange something, it'll be 9 o'clock Thursday. Other than that, I'm going to get with Gavin, and me and him's going to do a pre-draft, kind of pre-mock draft for the Casual Heroes site, considering that's where I kind of start out, and then Mark was gracious enough to bring me over to Radulich and Broadcast Network, give me the podcast. So I'm going to go back there, and me and him's going to try to work up a mock draft together. But other than that, I don't really have nothing else going on. I'm pretty much piled up with class and work, my own podcast, and then doing guest spots.
All right.
The only show that typically got less listens than yours was The Right Hook. Just sort of point that out. I'm saying that your show is bad. I happen to like your show. I'm just saying that you're still building an audience.
Hey, I'm losing an audience, so it's got to go somewhere, right?
There you go.
Yeah, mine's going down the shitter.
All right. As for my plugs, Locked in the Guillotine is live right now in the MMA zone of 411mania.com. I look back at UFC Fight Night, Cripple Fight 2. I talk about when I submitted my column, news had not yet broken about Renan Barão and TJ Dillashaw moving into UFC 173. So I talk about the absence of that. I even speculate that one of the lighter weight guys, specifically Demetrius Johnson or Renan Barão, was going to take that spot. And poor Demetrius Johnson just can't seem to get off the Fox network. They'll cancel everything else. We need more Dimitri. That's their opinion. I also take a look at the severe lack of personality in MMA since I didn't have a podcast. Since I didn't have a fight card to preview. It's one of my gripes right now in the sport, and I'll have something next week kind of along those same lines. This week I looked at the fighters. Next week I'm probably going to take aim at the UFC as far as their promotional efforts and what they could be doing better, at least in my opinion. I'm not friends with two people who own a casino and can fund my vanity projects once they start losing money. That's just me, though. Here, locked in, yes, Pat, we can probably talk about the lack of charisma on this Sunday's show. But since Mark will be hosting, we'll allow him to make that particular determination.
I don't give a fuck.
All right. Next week here on Everyone Loves a Bad Guy, I've got two possibilities, and I'm not sure which one I'm going to confirm just yet. I'm either going back to the DC universe, and I'll have Sean Comer on here, and we're going to tackle the villains of the Green Lantern Corps, because there's a lot of them. Or I will stay with Marvel, I'll have Pat on, and we'll talk about Thor villains. It's all going to depend on the numbers.
Green Lantern.
If I need numbers, I'm bringing Pat back.
I vote Green Lantern.
All right.
If at all possible, if you do Green Lantern, Gavin Napier is also a huge Green Lantern fan, so if Sean is unavailable, Gavin would be a great person to plug in. If Sean's
and people who listen to the last Long Road to Ruin, Sean Comer has declared himself the Hal Jordan of the Radulich and Broadcasting Network, and so then Gavin graciously took Guy Gardner.
Let's see. One of them's Ryan Reynolds, which is just awful.
That's Gavin's favorite actor in the entire world.
That's another guy who's never entertained me personally, but a lot of
Oh my God!
No, hang on, me personally, because his style of comedy does not appeal to me. Everyone's comedic sensibilities are different. If you enjoy the comedic stylings of Ryan Reynolds, I have no issue. He was
fine in The Proposal.
Van Wilder is a class.
That's not my thing either.
Hey, haven't seen either one because again, that style of humor and comedy does not appeal to me. So I choose not to spend my time or money on it.
He apparently was really good in The Croods.
It's a voice role. Doesn't count.
He was really good and buried. Really good and buried.
Wasn't that just him? Like 90 minutes?
Yep.
Huh.
And it was change-up he was good at. He was just fine in the change-up.
Let's not do this again. I don't want you to go through his entire filmography and say, but how can you not like this? The answer is I either haven't seen it.
In 1993, he was in Ordinary Magic. In 1995, he was...
Stop.
I can do this all day.
Yes, you could.
In 1974, he made an appearance in a sonogram.
Was
sonogram
a technology in 74?
I don't know.
I liked Waiting. I thought Waiting was fine. Hey, he's in Smoking Aces.
Great.
Doesn't everyone like Smoking Aces?
Smoking Aces is another.
Oh, wait a minute. I haven't seen it, actually. Again, these are films he's in I either haven't seen because they don't appeal to me, or I have seen them under some form of duress, and I don't care because I don't like his comedic.
Okay, so before you do another Everyone Loves a Bad Guy, you have homework. You have to go see Smoking Aces.
Okay, you pay me to do it. I will.
I pay you in love and affection.
He gave you a platform for your podcast.
Yes, he did, and I am eternally grateful for that. But I don't get paid,
So,
and neither does he.
he is the
Sure.
boss. Just remember, he is the boss.
Oh, no, you're going to fire me from volunteering?
Yeah. Safe House was a good movie. I liked it. I liked Safe House.
Haven't seen it. Again, look, that's going to be my response to a lot of this simply because, again, his style of comedy doesn't work for me, so I choose not to see movies that he's in when they're designed that way. That's where I stand on the issue, and the movies that I have seen him in, he has not been particularally entertaining. That's where I...
Men.
Okay, hold on.
I don't have anything against good-looking men. Why do I have to keep bringing that up?
Two guys are
You
going
want
to pizza.
All right.
Two guys are going
To finish my plug, on April 8th, that's a week from this Tuesday, I will be taking over for Mark Radulich, co-hosting The Long Road to Ruin with Sean Comer, and we're starting a 2-part series looking at the Saw franchise. So if you're into the horror, if you're into the show, stop by. We're going to kick ass and take names. Should be a good time. And again, come back here next week. It's more than likely going to be Green Lantern, all things considered, since I'm still just plowing through comic villains. And again, Locked in the Guillotine every Friday in the MMA Zone at 411mania.com. You can also hear me every Sunday at 9 p.m. Eastern on the 411 Ground and Pound radio show. I bring the logic and the sanity. Everyone else brings the personality.
And the chicken noises.
And the chicken noises. That's true. That's kind of how we go. All right, that's it for my plug. So for the mandated reporter who will be father for the second time and the last time, Mr. Mark Radulich, for Jason Teasley, who occupies the cheap seats, I am Robert Winfree, saying again, bad guys are what make good guys interesting. Without the villains, the heroes are just guys in tights.
So say good night to the bad guy.